don't think you understand what I'm trying to say.
I don't.
Like, I don't think if I ask you, okay, so if you could sum up for me, what am I trying to say? It's usually the test, right? Like, if you can tell me what I think in a way that I would agree to your wording of it, et cetera, or to the general understanding, then we actually have communicated something.
Sure.
But I don't think
Okay.
you're
My
capable of doing that right
understanding of
now.
what you're saying is that in the most macro, broad sense of the world, okay, the entire statements that I'm making can basically be understood as kind of like this curtain that's been draped over everybody's eyes from, I could call it like the neoliberal establishment, I could call it a Western establishment, I can call it a US hegemonic establishment, but basically there's like this story that the US hegemony likes to tell the world, that the US are the good guys, that NATO is expanding to protect countries and provide security in Europe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in reality, behind the scenes, you have these more contrived political powers that are backed by a capital that are essentially trying to like export their influence and everything all across the world, especially across Europe, especially in contrast to communist or socialist movements, especially in contrast to like Russia. And that the entire goal provided for examples of things like the Nord Stream Pipe 2, or the idea that we are contrary to some of our values, like drafting people from Germany into NATO, even though we say NATO is supposed to be a mission for peace, that all of these things serve as giant blocks, giant pillars to understand that the reality is that all of this stuff that's being built around the world is just to serve the interests of a few people that are really high in these hegemonic positions in the West, that are really high, these really high capital holders, that they don't really represent the interests of the average person. And part of the reason why I guess like the world is falling apart is because either people are slowly starting to realize that, or these people can only serve their interests for so long before everything falls apart for everybody else. That's kind of what it sounds like you're saying.
Yeah, it's a basic Marxist hermeneutic.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. I just think it's all stupid.